PlayStation studios are being absolutely gutted. 900 staff across development studios and support teams join the torrent of tech and games industry layoffs across the last year. As Sony sees Jim Ryan out the door and he is replaced by new CEO Hiroki Totoki, the projects Jim Ryan was in charge of are facing uncertain futures as PlayStation's developers are left asking, what now? It seems that even as Sony reaps the rewards of PlayStation Studios' success after success, it will not be enough to save the jobs of nearly 1,000 developers and staff. My name is Ruby Cinderbrook. Welcome to my channel. This is the first in what I hope will be a new series for me. I hope to break down the gaming news for you, cut through the noise, and give you nothing but the straight facts. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. It really helps me out and lets the algorithm know that my videos are worth serving to you. With that out of the way, let me get comfortable and we'll get started. That's better. Just a mere 5 days ago, Jim Ryan was in London partying and celebrating with the teams from PlayStation's London studio, celebrating his retirement, just to turn around today and announce that in an internal email, London studios would be closed. It was a single bullet point in a company-wide email. PlayStation Studios London had approximately 200 employees who all learned that they would be losing their jobs via a single bullet point. It just baffles me that Jim Ryan could sit there, smile, celebrate, and make merry with the team in London when he knew months in advance that they were planning to close the studio. Even being on his way out, there's no way he didn't know this was planned months in advance. Sony outlined on 2 company blogs what the layoffs mean for the future of PlayStation. Now, I won't read the entire things to you, but I will include links to the blogs in the description below if you're interested in reading them for yourselves. Here's the TLDR. PlayStation is laying off about 8% of its employees, or around 900 staff worldwide, bringing the total number of games industry layoffs in 2024 to approximately 7,000. And it's only February. 2023 saw about 10,000 layoffs across the entire year. It seems that the industry retraction from the COVID-19 boom just continues to decimate jobs. Jim Ryan sent out an email today. He went into more detail, saying that they've been working on discussing these layoffs for some time, and he called them inevitable. Now, to play devil's advocate for just a bit, these layoffs do make some sense. COVID caused a giant boom in the games industry, and now that life has gone back to normal, not saying that COVID is gone, it's very much not gone, but I'm saying now that people are back to work and have largely returned to their pre-pandemic habits. The industry is seeing a natural retraction because of that, coupled with unprecedented inflation, at least in the West. It makes sense that the industry is shrinking. It's unfortunate that it's coming with the loss of so much development talent and canceled projects, shuttered studios. It seems that Sony and their subsidiaries are the very definition of suffering from success. Now, these layoffs will impact individual game teams. As I stated earlier, PlayStation London studios will be shuttered, and they will somewhat impact the core PlayStation corporate structure from support staff, technology and creative elements, and others. In the firing line, we also have some studios you will have definitely heard of. These studios will be facing layoffs as well. Firesprite Studios, responsible for many of PlayStation's VR projects, such as Horizon VR Call of the Mountain. We have Guerrilla Games, responsible for, of course, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, 2 of the best games Sony has made in the last two generations, two of their biggest hits. I am a huge Horizon fan myself, so this kind of hurts to see. And in the firing line as well, we also have Insomniac Games. Somehow. Creators of Marvel's Spider Man games, as well as longtime developers behind Ratchet and Clank. It's incredible to me that these studios can produce such amazing and incredibly profitable games and still not have security in their jobs. There are also some smaller reductions across other PlayStation subsidiaries, and so I guess the question that people are asking is why now? Sony are experiencing shrinking margins and returns on their investments. They don't have any major upcoming releases for the entire 2024 fiscal year, as far as I'm aware. And that, coupled with incredibly bloated operational costs, has sent the bean counters into a frenzy to make those short term quarterly financials seem less intimidating to investors. On top of these things, the PlayStation 5 is turning 5 years old this year. The margins on hardware sales were already slim, but now they have all but evaporated. Sony is now likely looking forward to the latter half of the platform's lifecycle and making plans for the future. All of this is, of course, after they gutted Bungie in 2023 and other studios like Media Molecule, with a handful of canceled projects to throw in the bin with them. It seems Sony has tried precision surgery in the past to trim the fat, and it seems they're ready to swing wide and swing big now to get those costs down and get those financials into better shape. Herman Hulst, head of PlayStation Studios, said, "We looked at our studios and our portfolio, evaluating projects in various stages of development, and have decided that some of those projects will not move forward. I want to be clear that the decision to stop work on these projects is not a reflection on the talent or passion of our team members. Our philosophy has always been to allow creative experimentation. Sometimes great ideas don't become great games. Sometimes a project is started with the best intentions before it shifts within the market or our industry, result in a change of plan." I think it's worth it to point out that with the studios facing the hammer, those developers are the ones who were working on VR like Firesprite or live services like London and also Firesprite. Even Insomniac and Gorilla, who were reportedly working on multiple projects at a time and able to fund their own projects, were not spared. As we know, both Gorilla and Insomniac have had breakout successes this year. Not really breakout, but smash successes this year. Spider Man sold, I mean, just crazy numbers. I mean, and with a budget of 300 million, I mean, it had to, but they did it. They, by all means, produced a fantastic game, a fantastic slice of game to just sit down and enjoy, and those games have done well. Uh, Horizon has done incredibly well, uh, and those studios have been able to fund their own new stuff. They haven't had to dig into Sony's coffers as much. But still, we see projects getting canceled and staff just being tossed aside. It is notable that Firesprite were asked to make games that suited PlayStation's interests at the time, like having titles for PlayStation VR 2 when it launched. Even London Studios was working on a VR game and ended up working on a live service title that, per several industry journalists, such as Kotaku's Ethan Gotch, was not in a great state. It was working on a multiplayer live service game that I'm told was still years off due to delays and challenges of pivoting the team from VR to a new genre. Sony has continued to chase the great live service dragon, salivating to have a cow live service game in house completely. Cash cow, I should say. Though we saw these layoffs coming after Insomniac's hacking and subsequent data breach last year, we know that Sony has been planning these layoffs since at least September. Uh, to quote, presentations earlier in the year point to a rough projected headcount of 500 moving forward. But a September email from Sony specified a full time employee max headcount of 470, down from its current estimated 485 employees. PowerPoint slides from a September presentation reference 6 potential areas to reduce headcount, including a few layoffs, not backfilling certain positions, and placing up to 5 employees on performance improvement plans, which might eventually end in them getting the can. Kotaku reported that this was from an internal slideshow note attributed to Insomniac head Ted Price. Slimming down Ratchet and cutting new IP will not account for the reduction Sony is looking for. To remove 50 to 75 people strategically, our best option is to cut deeply into Wolverine and Spider Man 3, replacing lower performers with team members from Ratchet and new IP. Price then argued that the planned slashes to Ratchet and Clank at any new IP would be harmful to those titles, as the cuts were aimed at the most veteran developers, which of course makes sense to the bean counters. Why keep a senior developer for twice the price of two juniors? Unfortunately, despite the warnings, those staff cuts have been brought to fruition. The Insomniac leaks also revealed the sheer scale of revenue that studios like Insomniac and Guerrilla were bringing in for Sony, absolutely shattering expectations which were already set sky high. Despite Horizon selling over 33 million copies across the IP, Guerrilla is still being decimated by layoffs. So, where does this leave things? It's clear that Sony is falling into step with the rest of the industry and pumping the brakes, turning off the money faucet, and just going full demo man on everything. Naughty Dog has canceled their live service plans, joining rumors that a multitude of studios are working on live service titles for Sony are all feeling the squeeze. This, of course, is after they all hopped on board Sony's hunt for their live service white whale. I don't think that this is signaling a broad change for Sony. They're still going to be pumping out multiplayer and live services. They're just consolidating and tightening their belts after they've clearly spent too much money in the recent years since COVID 19's ballooning of the games industry saw widespread and unsustainable growth. It's clear with hit games like Helldivers 2 going gangbusters that people don't hate live service games, they just hate shitty ones. Uh, Live services are worth trying when properly vetted and calculated, and, they're not a huge risk when done right. Firesprite, who were handed the live service Twisted Metal from Lucid Studios, have seen the game cancelled, despite the rumors that the game was close to completion. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, despite some recent scuttlebutt suggesting that Twisted Metal was close to release, the game was in early development and wasn't yet greenlit, per his source. It seems the core plan is having to change. Instead of throwing everything in the wall and seeing what sticks, I think we're going to see more things along the lines of PlayStation published titles being released on PC, like Helldivers 2, as well as a continued focus on cloud, mobile, and streaming bullshit. I think this is particularly true considering the surprising success of PS Portal. I'm not sure who was buying a PS Portal, but someone was buying it. As well as the breakout success Helldivers 2 has been enjoying on both PC and PS5, doing over 300,000 concurrent players, I believe, on PC alone. Per Jim Ryan, all of this smashing and cutting is because of changes in the games industry from where the console generation began. This is certainly backed up by Matt Piscatella, who said on Twitter, models meant to drive growth like VR and subs, among others, have had low to moderate success. Cloud hasn't expanded much beyond the base of console owners, and use has mainly focused on game trials. Massive consumer pressure from everyday spending categories like food and housing, it seems that the bets made by AAA game development at the beginning of this console generation 5 years ago have been complete and utter failures to launch. Jim Ryan dragged PlayStation from a strong finish in the PlayStation 4 era to the current generation with new plans for remakes, remasters, VR crapshoots, PS Portal, which got totally cucked by the Steam Deck, and chasing that goddamn live service dragon. Now, Jim Ryan leaves Sony with his live service streams in tatters, Legendary Studios either closed or in shambles, and a completely unfunded, jumbled, unfocused, and unknown internal pipeline. It's hard to say what the future of PlayStation looks like, but I can tell you for certain that at least for Sony, 2024 looks grim as hell. I'm sure it won't stay that way, and things, of course, will turn around and they'll get the juices flowing again. But it looks like they're in for a rough year. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope to see you back here soon. Please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Thank you so much for your support. I am a one-woman operation, so I greatly depend on every little bit from viewers like you. You can also catch me live on Twitch during the weekdays and on Twitter and Reddit, being dumb. Have a nice day.